When the irresistible lure of over the hills and far away attracts a traveler to Mexico, he may witness a fascinating panorama of scenic grandeur, made accessible in recent years through a network of well-paved highways, such as the one from Mexico City to Morelia and Guadalajara, over which we are now traveling. This modern road is known as the Pacific International Highway. It is over 400 miles in length, and it is planned to connect with the route from Nogales, Arizona, which will eventually run along the entire west coast of North America, providing motorists with the opportunity of witnessing new and enchanting vistas of scenic beauty. About 196 miles from Mexico City, we arrive at the quaint little town of Morelia, which was founded over 4 centuries ago by the Spaniards. Aside from its antiquity, Morelia is noted for its rare orchids and numerous other varieties of flowers, beautiful examples of which adorn the colorful roof garden of one of the town's many fine hotels. Morelia's most famous landmark is its cathedral, begun in 1640 and completed a century later. For 200 years, this magnificent structure has been standing here as a monument to the memory of the Spanish padres and the Indians who built it, as well as to the undying faith which inspired them. The government palace is another fine example of Spanish colonial architecture. It was formerly used as a seminary, but it now houses the state library and other government departments. This old Spanish aqueduct, built over 150 years ago, is still carrying water from the mountains to the town. Morelia is named in honor of General Morelos, the immortal Mexican patriot and liberator, of whom Napoleon is said to have remarked, "With 5 men like Morelos, I could conquer the world." Motoring back to Mexico City, we are again enthralled by the natural beauty of the countryside. The Mexican federal and state governments have recently inaugurated a most ambitious program of road construction. And within a few more years, roads like this may extend into some of the most remote parts of the land. Visible on a clear day from all angles in the vast valley of Mexico are the perpetually snow-clad volcanoes, Ixtaccíhuatl, commonly known as the Sleeping Woman, because of the snowy outline of a reclining woman on its summit. And Popocatépetl, the Vesuvius of Mexico. The soldiers of Cortez discovered and extracted thousands of tons of excellent sulfur from Popo. In fact, more than 100 million tons were taken out before its last eruption in 1921. It has been estimated that its huge crater floor is made up of an immense sulfur deposit. The strength of Mexico has always been in its natural resources, and the scars of the old silver mines that were carved in the hills of Tasco many centuries ago are silent reminders that this modest little town was once the leading silver-producing center of the Western Hemisphere. Tasco, situated on the King's Highway between Mexico City and Acapulco, has preserved its colonial atmosphere, and the government has taken precautions to protect it from change, so that no structure can be erected unless it conforms with the town's original pattern of quaintness. Because of this, Tasco has become an international rendezvous for artists. In the early part of the 18th century, a Frenchman named Laborde came to Tasco and made a fabulous fortune out of the silver mines, in gratitude for which he built this famous church, which has stood here as a tribute to his memory for almost 200 years. Just 6 hours over the King's Highway from Tasco, we arrive at Acapulco, the highlight of our motor trip. and before us stretches the broad expanse of the Pacific Ocean. In the remote days of Spanish colonial rule, Acapulco was the principal port on the Pacific. Cortez sailed his ships from this port to explore up and down the coast and far out into the Pacific. And Spanish galleons brought rich cargoes of Oriental furniture, silks, spices, and finery here in exchange for Mexico's highly coveted silver and gold. This winter playground, averaging over 3,000 hours of sunshine annually, is often referred to as the Mexican Riviera, its coastline resembling that of southern France. Acapulco's rocky but picturesque promontories provide unique locations for hotels and homes, as well as spectacular points from which the famous native divers may perform their daring feats. Although this may seem simple, it is really quite dangerous and difficult, as the diver must time his plunge so as to land on the crest of an incoming wave. Otherwise, there would not be sufficient depth for him to clear the base of the cliff. And now comes the champion boy diver of Mexico. Watch his perfect form and position as he strikes the water. No cliff is too high for these fearless divers if the water is deep enough below, and here is a dive to prove it. Aside from diving, the cliffs of Acapulco also provide perfect settings for beautiful private homes, which are occupied by residents from all parts of the world. A veritable fisherman's paradise, bearing all the allure of the South Sea Islands, Mexico's most popular seaside resort has also become an international haven for vacationists as well as sportsmen. Endless stretches of beautiful beaches provide innumerable places to swim, and the temperature of the tropical ocean water varies but few degrees throughout the year. This alluring strand of tropical loveliness attracts visitors from all parts of the continent, not the least of whom is the tired businessman in search of rest and relaxation. Here at the end of the King's Highway, we find peace and respite from the cares of a troubled world. And it is with genuine reluctance that we now say farewell to this paradise of the Pacific.